Ein herzliches Willkommen, liebe Leute. Kali, German und ich waren auf der Gamescom und hatten ein Interview mit Eugen Harton, dem Lead Producer von DayZ. Das Interview ist auf Englisch und wurde auch von Kali durchgeführt, da mein Englisch leider nicht so gut ist. Ich hoffe, ihr versteht da vieles und es werden euch einige Fragen hoffentlich beantwortet. Ich wünsche euch viel Spaß im nachfolgenden Video, würde mich über eine Bewertung freuen und über einen Kommentar natürlich freuen, Leute. Und ja, let's go!
So, ja, hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einem kleinen Video, ein Interview mit Eugen, ein Lead Producer, okay, von DayZ. Wir haben glücklicherweise ein Interview bekommen mit ihm und wir haben ein paar Fragen aufgeschrieben, vorbereitet und ich hoffe, er kann uns alle beantworten. Es ist mein erstes Interview, ich bin mega nervös. Ich hoffe, ich verhadere mich nicht oder ich kann alles flüssig und entspannt fragen und auch beantworten. So, dann fangen wir an mit dem Interview. So, welcome, Eugen. Yes, thank you. We start with the first question about DayZ. Dass die Frisur sitzt. So what's the current state of the development of DayZ?
Yeah, so basically about 2 weeks ago we stopped the development on the engine itself, so the technology is getting stabilized. It was one of the most basically biggest challenges that we had during the development. Also one of the reasons that the development took so long, and as you might have noticed, on 29th of August we're actually releasing on Xbox as well, PS4 down the road. So we expect the game to get on more platforms, basically gather the player base, and now that the technology is stabilized, we want to empower the community with the modding tools and basically options to grow the community as a whole.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, in which area are the difficulties with the development, or where are unexpected difficulties?
Basically, the biggest issue always is, especially in development, because when you're developing massively multiplayer online games, which DayZ, especially on terms of technology, definitely is, it's always networking. So the engine development itself, making sure that there is no desynchronization and that we meet the expectations of the players, is definitely the hardest part of creating a game such as DayZ.
Okay, then you made a checklist about the development progress and put it on the internet, and he said it's gone. So where is the checklist?
I think there was an original roadmap that was created in 2015. There was maybe another one, I can't remember. It's a long development, so I might miss something from the top of my head. But in general, we removed it because people are referring to it very often, and it was basically no longer accurate and wasn't offering the window into the DayZ that we wanted to. There is nothing nefarious about it. We just wanted to have something that people can refer to that's accurate and that's actual. So that's why we created the experimental checklist that is on the site right now. It's basically the goals for the beta release that we have right now. And just to explain why that actually happened is that a lot of the times when you are creating something in a creative technology development such as games, there's a huge difference between ideas and execution, and sometimes if you get not careful enough, you present ideas rather than the execution. And a lot of the times also these things or features or basically something that we want to put into the game actually doesn't make it more fun, and you have to reprioritize, because that's also why the experimental checklist was created, because we could realize that okay, all these things that we talked about, some of them are not really needed for the game, some of them would delay the game even more for no reason, because the game wouldn't be more DayZ, it wouldn't be more fun, it wouldn't work better, it would just have more flavor here and there, and sometimes just technological challenges that come in the way. For example, originally our idea was that every bullet should have a durability in the game, which would affect the jamming process of the weapon. So you would have like a poor quality bullet, you would have a higher chance to actually jam your gun. And each clip has like 10 to 40 bullets, and when you're synchronizing like thousands of entities on a map just because of this one feature? Does it even make sense if we have to sacrifice that much performance? So you always have to do these things, and because there is no like general know-how how to make an MMO. You always learn by mistakes, and it doesn't really matter if it's Bethesda, if it's Bohemia Interactive, if it's ID, if it's Blizzard. You always try things and you fail. It's a natural part of the whole development process. So we still believe, and we know that the game can be quite fun and can see a comeback that I seen in a couple of use cases previously. Like when you look at, for example, Rainbow Six, the launch was pretty much a failure. Nobody liked the game, everybody was unhappy about the performance, about the technical difficulties, but they were able to come back. And the reason is, the only thing that matters is that if you have a good game, people are going to play it. So that's our goal, like we want to have a good game.
Okay, so the next question. So this was also a question from the community. When does the new content patch for the experimental server comes out?
Okay, so to explain what happened with the content patch, the delay in the content patch is basically tied to the difficulty that I mentioned earlier, and that is networking. So engine development is a very complex subject. I don't think we need to get too technical, but in general, when the 0.63 originally was released, we prepared the content patch. But as I said, like we only stopped the technological development like 2 weeks ago. So that also means the content patch had or has a lot of technological improvements upon the original release of the 0.63, and those, even though they were tested extensively, our QA team is about 60 to 70 people. You can't really compare what we are able to do internally, what's actually happening on live. So when we released it, there were problems with the networking that we didn't anticipate, and a lot of these problems, you can't fix them by throwing more money and more people at them. It just doesn't work, because it's a singular task, it's a singular module, and usually have specialization in the company. So there are a couple of people working on the issue, and even when you look at the timeline of the content patch, so here is 0.63, here is, for example, content patch 1, and there is like content patch 2, content patch 3, beta, whatever. When you look at the timeline, if I have like 3 people working on the fixing of content patch 1, that gets delayed, but that doesn't mean that it's affecting the rest of the releases, because the people are still working on it. So as of now, people might not perceive it that way, but from a development standpoint, from a production standpoint, I only am in delay of 2 weeks, because internally we're actually hitting our milestones and our goals. The only problem we encountered is networking, and we're very near to fixing it. I'm actually checking it like every 10 minutes, because the Xbox release needs to go smoothly. And it's one of the most important things that we have on the table right now. So when that's done, hopefully within the next few weeks, you'll see the experimental patch getting out with the content patch. You'll see it getting into the hands of the community, so the people and the server owners will get their hands on the new content. And also you'll see the Xbox release and the continuation of our content patching going down the road. And since we want to release the DayZ this year, you can probably imagine how fast it's going to be afterwards. Because it doesn't really matter if I have more content if the game doesn't work. So that's the highest priority, and the content is still being made. So the only thing that's going to happen is we're going to release content patch 1, and the content patch 2 is going to come sooner than expected. Sooner than expected in a sense of it's still being developed, it's still on time. So we had a certain timeline where it's supposed to be released. Now it's just going to be like maybe content patch 1 releases, and maybe in a month there's going to be another content patch very quickly, because those problems, the technological ones, are going to be fixed in that patch anyways, because we stopped the technical development. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, yeah, makes sense, thank you. The next question, what can we expect from the patch? Maybe a new car to drive, or more animals, or new weapons, or stuff like this?
So I would separate it into 2 parts. One thing is content, which you can call like assets, so new weapons, new vehicles, new buildings, visual improvements, that's content. We have tons of content prepared. so that can be turned down very quickly. Features are a bit more complicated. So let's say I have a content patch 1 that contains scopes and all new things that are in there, jumping. We have a couple more things that we want to get done, like climbing, vehicles, and base building. All of them are internally working, and we have them in their internal build to play and test out. The thing is that they are quite buggy, so what I would expect is that you'll see the content patch 1 come out, and very soon after you'll see vehicles hitting the milestones and base building hitting the milestones, and we're going to properly separate those into separate patches eventually, and that's all going to come out before end of the year.
Okay. Then, okay, that's interesting question. Will DayZ get mod support?
Definitely. Like, there is no question. It's one of the most important things for Bohemia. We actually have a internal, how would you call it, slogan. It's curiosity, community, creativity, and it's something that we always wanted to do for DayZ. But the thing about modding is that as soon as you release modding, people are going to start modifying your game, creating new stuff. And if we're working on the low level of the game, we're going to keep breaking their mods. So that's why we delayed the modding, because we didn't want to be in a situation when we couldn't do changes that the game needs. But yeah, it's coming this year, no problem. We already talked about it, by the way, in recent article, modding of DayZ. We actually released it, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and it contained the snapshots of some of the tools that we are releasing, what's changing, how it's going to be, and we're going to talk about it more. There's one more article coming very, very soon.
Oh, perfect. Okay, maybe a more funnier question. Is a DayZ Battle Royale planned?
So, some of you might have noticed that Bohemia actually acquired a brand called Survivor Games, which was the basically original Battle Royale. It's a different thing than what you're seeing in Battle Royale games right now, but the concept is similar. And yes, we're working on something.
Ah, okay, something, okay. Good. Are you gonna implement seasoning like winter and snowfall into DayZ?
So, for turners, for the map itself, there's no good technical support to do that easily. If we're gonna ever do that, it's gonna take like 6 to 12 months of work, so it's a very large investment of time and money. I don't think the game benefits from it as much as from the new maps, because the diversity is more important. So I would rather focus on tools that are used to create maps, so that the community can bring things like Nemelsk or Taviana, things that were, or even our own maps that are in other games, that can diversify the content enough that people can, okay, I'm tired of turners, I want to play something that's snowy and winterish, I want to survive in the cold, and you're going to be playing Nemelsk. You want to play on an island that's more tropical, you're going to play Taviana, for example. So I think that's a better way to scale the game as a whole.
Okay. So let's check. In the full release, when the full release in DayZ, will there be new animals like bears?
So when it comes to animals, the original plan for animals was quite large. There were even birds planned, which we still have planned, but it's going to probably be like post 1.0 release, so next year. For the predators that you're seeing right now, we have wolves in game. However, we had bears planned. The models are done, the animations are done. It's just about the implementation of the AI for predators, because we want the bear to behave differently than the wolf, because it's not a pack animal like the wolf, so it's like completely different implementation, but it's something that we want to do in the future. Okay,
fine. Then more content. Will there be new drivable cars?
That's definitely expected.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, definitely. Fine. And a question from the community. Can you tell us which kind of new weapons are going to be?
So when you look at patch 0.62, which is like the game that we call Legacy, which is on the old engine, and there is a game on the 0.63 on the new engine called Enfusion. For the original game we created, I can't remember from top of my head, maybe like 40 weapons were in there in that game. and porting them is based on certain factors. We have 60 weapons created right now.
They're not in-game, 60.
They're just, so we have the models, we have the animations, we have basically the assets needed to put the guns in game. When you look at the implementation of guns in DayZ and what we wanted to offer for modders, for example, every gun can act as a system, and you can call that state machine, because it's basically a change of state of the gun in certain ways, so it's like a graph of an action. Most of the weapons work similarly, so you can categorize them in like bigger categories. So I have bolt action weapons, I have like clip, automatic, full automatic weapons. Once we have every type of the weapon implemented, so let's say I have a full automatic weapon that acts in a certain way like M4, it's very easy for us to create another weapon in that class. The only problem is creating those classes themselves so that the behavior of the weapon is actually fleshed out. So our idea about 0.63 and the weapon content that we want to bring in is, when you look at the map itself, we wanted to for the player to have a sense of progression. So when you're going from the lower parts of the map to the upper parts of the map, there are like tier 1 to tier 4 weapons. So there is something different that you'll find in the civilian houses, in the small towns, than you'll find in the military bases that are up in the north. And for the game to work, we would like to have like sniper rifles, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, so that you have a progression in a certain class of weapons. And after that, it's more of a flavor. So we chose, I don't know, it's like 25 weapons that are going to be in beta. Maybe less or more, I can't remember from the top of my head, but in general, you'll see in every class of the weapon, I want to have an SMG, there's going to be at least 4 to 5 SMGs. I want to have a pistol, there's going to be at least 4 to 5 pistols. I want to have a rifle, there's going to be at least 4 to 5 rifles. Because we want to have the progression, so I find Mosin, and then I get further north and I find freaking Dragonol, and I'll be like the most amazing sniper in the game. So that's one thing. After that, we can start implementing all those weapons that have been there before. But for the fun of the game, I don't think that's like the biggest priority. Once the system of progression works, everything else is flavor, and we're going to keep adding that flavor because all that content is going to get into DayZ eventually.
Okay, perfect. You mentioned the Mosin. Another question for the Mosin. The long-range scope is not in the game anymore. Does the Mosin get a new scope, like the long-range scope again?
So as I was talking about the tiers of weapons, Mosin should be a tier 1, tier 2 sniper weapon. So that's also the reason why the long-range scope was not put on Mosin again, because we would rather see players progress to the military bases in the north and use long-range scopes with some of the more advanced sniper rifles that are in the game. So that's basically the reason. It's a progression that we want to enforce through the design.
Okay. And the next question is about base building. Will there be base building in DayZ?
Yes.
Yes?
As I said in one of the previous questions, base building internally is actually implemented. The idea about base building for us is that we never want to go the route that you're seeing in Fortnite or Rust or Ark. We never want to see the structures become something that's not realistic, doesn't make any sense, because you look at Ark and people are building like walls after walls after walls after walls because they are easy to break and easy to get into, and there are like raid lockouts and like super meta game implementation. What we want to have is a base that you create should be something that can generate resources for you. So food and water can be generated in the base. It should be also a storage space where you can store your stuff safely, that people can't get to it. And that's also the reason why explosives in DayZ are going to be insanely rare. And getting through a wall with a weapon, you know, that's not going to happen. And as far as what you can do with the base, we have like walls, doors, electricity walls, so you can put actually electricity in the walls, people can climb them. There are watchtowers, so you can have like sniper towers in the base. There are like larger tents, smaller tents, so the larger tent for cars, for example, if you want to store the car, so it doesn't get damaged from rain and things like that. So we want that thing to look like when you, probably some of you watch Walking Dead, and some of the camps in post-apocalypse are mostly makeshift. We want as soon as you see a base, we want you to feel like you're immersed, that it's real, that somebody could have built this, that it's like, okay, somebody took this stuff from this place and made something up, and it's like okay-ish, but you're not a builder, you're a civilian. You're gonna make the best out of it. So that's basically the aim with base building. Okay,
maybe a tent out of leaves, for example. Yeah. Oh, great. Good news. So. And another question from our viewers: will there be horses you can ride? Or any other mountable animal?
So I'm gonna go and explain that a bit more. So creating something such as a horse for a game, we would love to do that. Like, that's an amazing feature that I think DayZ would benefit from in the long run. But there are serious considerations to make. From an animation standpoint, horses are super freaking complex. From an AI standpoint, we would like to have horses trainable, so even that's quite complicated. And what they actually add to the game is more the caretaking aspect of the AI. And if there are vehicles in game already, it's more of a flavor than anything else. And I know that the modders will eventually create horses, but the thing is that they're gonna probably hack it in, and our visual standard and our goals are set on a much higher level. I know horses can be done in DayZ. They can be done very badly, like for example how Bicycle was done in DayZ mode. It's just like, it was super basic, it was like weirdly animated, it didn't work that much. People loved the Bicycle, loved it. And we could bring it in a way that has been done in DayZ mode, but the quality level should be much higher for a professional studio than what you're expecting from a modding community.
Okay, maybe some players gonna ride over the horse with a car, so that's a lot of work to animate this and with the AI. Okay, I understand. Yeah. Okay.
It can be done in a simple way, but the quality level will be very low, and it will basically not meet the expectations of the players, and that's something we can't afford to do. So it's something that we might do in a very long future, but I don't think it really makes sense to talk about it now, just because that the game is still missing base building, it's still missing vehicles, it's still missing content we want to do, and we want to make sure that it comes out this year with the things that we promised. That's the most important thing.
So I haven't understand, the bike is coming back, or?
Once more?
The bicycle is coming
Oh yeah. We would love to do Bicycle, but again, there are different options to make sure what Bicycle makes for the game, or why Bicycle is important in the game, is that you have a transport option that doesn't require fuel. And that can be done in different ways. It doesn't need to be Bicycle. And again, it's the same thing with Bicycle. Bipedal vehicles, if you want to do it correctly, like you've seen probably in GTA, implementation of single bipedal two-wheel drive takes 6 to 12 months at least.
Okay, it takes a lot of time. Okay, so the last question. You're currently still working on the Xbox and PS4?
Yeah.
Okay, so when will the console versions be ready to play?
So the Xbox version is playable right now. There is actually Xbox Insider program, and those guys actually have access. We've given out keys, and DayZ on Xbox is actually coming out on 29th of August. We announced it at Gamescom. It's going to the game preview program, so in a couple days, I think that's going to be just 5 days. It's going to be playable for everybody on Xbox.
Oh, the beta or the full game?
So the build that's going to Xbox is basically content patch 1.
Oh, okay, great. Now I forgot the question I wanted to ask. And the PC full release, when is the date?
We haven't announced the release date for PC. We only said it's going to come out this year, and we definitely are going to announce more dates in the future. It's just that we would like to hit certain milestones before we say so.
Okay. Great. That's it?